Hello everyone, welcome to Sawyer Studios, and I am doing a brief commentary on these work that I have composed for just, I guess, for myself, for everyone to listen. So I started this work called Opposition several years ago during my undergrad career, I think either sophomore or junior year, probably late sophomore year of college. Um, and so I was kind of, I was like, I want to compose something big. I want to compose something with voice, with symphony. I want to compose a work that's just beautiful. And I was trying to think of inspiration, and I was just looking up some stuff on Google, as most people do, and I kind of crossed this cool phenomenon in astronomy called opposition, where like it's pretty much whenever any anything like perfectly aligns in space. So we've had opposition in the past, like every single eclipse is an opposition, where the sun, moon, earth perfectly align with each other. We've had it happen in history where like Jupiter and Saturn are like perfectly aligned or whatever. That's called opposition. That phenomenon is called opposition. So I was thinking, that's a very interesting concept. What if I applied that to a piece? And so I started thinking, how would I apply this to a piece? And I came up with a 5-movement work in which the first movement, the first 4 movements would be things in space. So movement 1 is Mars, movement 2 is Earth, movement 3 is the Moon, and movement 4 is the Sun. The 5th movement would be the finale, and that's where the opposition takes place. And my plan was to take every single motive, every single thematic material from each of those movements, and intertwine them in the finale as if like the movements were slowly coming in line together. And that's sort of like my thought. I was like, oh my gosh, that's genius. Definitely would not have come up with that unless God had granted me that just divine inspiration. So definitely something I couldn't have come up with. So all to God for giving me that. But anyway, we have in movements 1, 2, 3, 4, Mars, Earth, Moon, and Sun. I thought this was just like a cool thing, and I think I chose these planets because in the article I was reading, I think this exact thing happened not too long. I think it was within the past decade or 2 decades or something like that. So I was like, this is pretty recent in our space history. So Mars, I don't know if you all know Gustav Holst's Planet Symphony, but he wrote an entire symphony making a movement for every planet. One of them being Mars. Except he didn't make a movement for Earth, which I don't know how to feel about that, but he didn't. Anyway, Mars, which is, based off the Greek god, war, bringer of war, I decided to take a lot of Gustav Holst's thematic, theoretical material, how he composed his theme. He used a lot of math, and I had to do an entire like theory analysis on his movement Mars, and it's very interesting. Everything's very palindromic. Lots of different, lots of numbers, very mathematical. And so I had this one theme that I wanted to put through this entire piece, this entire work. Sort of like every single motive is off of this theme, and this is the sense of a sol ti do fa. In the key of C, it would be G B C F. So do 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 do. It would be those 4 notes. And so, using Holst's theoretical mindset, I took like the intervals between each of those, and I composed like this sort of like half-step chromatic jump between each one, and which is pretty much he does. He takes an interval class, and he chromatically goes through it, very eerie, like. Which when I plugged in my interval class to sort of like his method, it sounds very similar to Mars. I also used some of the same harmonic progressions throughout the piece and also added some of my own. So a lot of the 5/4 da 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 dum 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 dum, I reused that rhythm in it, and that's the part where I use the Latin for Revelation 1:16. I'll read you what it is in English because I doubt any of you know Latin, so that would be pointless if I read it in Latin. But the English is, in his right hand, 7 stars, and out of the mouth a 2-edged sword, and his face was like the sun shining in all its brilliance. I chose that because Revelation is a very prophetic book, and also it has a lot of, this particular verse has a lot of astrology, just references to it. So I thought it fit the entire theme and the mood. Why did I choose Latin? Because Latin's cool. No, because I mean, Latin, you sort of get that feel of like it's like ancient feeling. Which I wanted that. Now, the part that I really brought onto my own in this movement, what is the slower, mellower section, which is sort of like, it goes into a 4/4, so it gets out of the 5/4, and it uses these words that are inspired by a couple psalms. I think Psalm 28 and Psalm 75. But the Lord is my strength and my defense, whom I shall trust and not be afraid. He is my fortress, he is my shield, he is my stronghold. From all darkness shall yield. He has become my salvation. We have this war, this bringer of war, dum section. And then we have, the Lord is my strength and my defense. He's my shield from this war. So we have like this, this bringer of war, but then we remember who's our protector from this war. It's God. And then we have this, very much contrast in section A, B, A sort of ish format going on. In each movement, an instrument or instruments gets sort of like the spotlight. And in this movement, it's the timpani and the cello are the ones that get the spotlight for the instrument that should shine during this movement, pun not intended. So that's movement 1. Movement 2 is Earth. That is the Agnus Dei. And I use the Agnus Dei text because my friend Tyler, ever since we became Catholic, he was like, you definitely need to write a piece, because he knew I composed music, and you need to use the Agnus Dei text, which is Ecce Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccata mundi, which means the Lamb of God, who takes away the sins of the world. Except for me, I use the word earth because it just matches it's the same thing, earth, world, but it matches my movement. So I wanted this movement to also be sort of like a juxtaposed, in a sense where like, the earth is broken, we're fallen, it's very sinful, and I add these lyrics in those parts of like the brokenness part of the movement, which is sinful monster, a heart so black and dark, twisted creature no power on earth could ever possibly love. Apart, I'm part of this desolate place, for far from love, far from grace. But then you have this jubilant, this jolly theme that comes in a 3/4, and we have this fun little like meter change going on where it goes from 3/4 2 measures and then a 2/4 measure. It's more like it should feel like more like it's in 6/8, but I didn't choose 6/8 because I wanted it to feel like syncopated. So in 3/4 we have this rhythm, da 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 dee dum, and you'll see that throughout the entire piece. Now I could have done 6/8, which would have divided each measure perfectly into da da dee da dee dum. But it's not, in 6/8 everything lands on the beat, and I didn't want that. I wanted it to feel like off the beat, da da dee da dum dum. So that's my explanation for that. For the main motive in this piece, I used the same sol, ti, do, fa, but I changed the order and I repeat sol. So it's sol, ti, do, fa. Now it's sol, fa, sol, ti, do. So yeah, changed it. And I'm continuing on. It just like springs to life, I think. And there's also some elements near the later end of it that hint towards the 4th movement, but it doesn't quite get there because we're not at the sun's brilliance is one thing. The earth only gets so much of it. The instrument that gets highlighted in this movement is the French horn. Movement 3, the moon. This was one of my favorite movements because I wrote the text completely. And I would just read the text first. The sun's bright radiance beams forevermore. Given the moon a light so divine, I am broken, I cannot receive her. The moon said, you don't need to be whole to shine. So it's sort of like this line, you don't need to be whole to shine, just really hit me. And this is something that my parents told me once, and I don't remember where they got it or if they made it up or whatever, but credit to them. But yeah, the fact that the moon, the moon can be half, it can be waning, it can be crescent, but it can still shine. And that is the message I want to get across to this, is that you don't need to be whole as a human in order to emit light. And we are broken, we're sinful. Sorry to get religious here, but God's light, he can still shine out of you even in your sinful state. And that's like the main message I want to get across, is that you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to know what you're doing in order for God to use you. And so that's the text. The motif is clearly sol ti do fa all the way through. Not really many variations and stuff. I do use a lot of rhythmic variations, a lot of 5 against 3 against 4 against 2 and stuff like that in the part, and it's really cool. Sort of like with some cluster chords in there, a little bit Eric Whitacre inspiration. But I love my callback to Mars in it. The it goes from 5/4 to 4/4. Same dum 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 dum, but it's slower, more mellow. It's played by the strings. It's sort of like the moment where the sun is telling, the moon is telling you, you don't have to be whole to shine, and just that part, always gets me. So next movement, the instrument in that shines is the oboe. Next movement is the sun, and this one is it's jazzy. It's a different feel, and I was writing a piece for jazz theory, and I decided to use the same chord progression because I loved it so much for this movement. So after I did my project for class for jazz theory, I just made a movement of it, and pretty much the text is influenced from Malachi 1:11. The main instrument that shines is the violin. Technically, the first violin has the solo, and it's very rich. Lots of modal mixture, lots of 2/5s going everywhere, which is very much in jazz theory. And so anyway, the text influenced from Malachi is, "Shine my star, who's constant in the sky, never wavering, never ceasing, giving the world its light. When the earth and all its creation quakes, trees quake, mountains quake, oceans quake, its people tremble and shake. It is I who hold its pillars firm, the guiding force of light and fire. Alleluia." And so this is definitely the most harmonically enriching movement, and I wanted every single harmony in here to sort of emit this warm feeling, like the sun is like beaming on you, just to feel nice and cozy. I think the piece comes across as that. You'll have to let me know in the comment section. But yeah, the movement is supposed to be very warm and cozy and just light-hearted, heartfelt. Anyway, I think it's really powerful. And finally, we get that radiant moment at the end that is precursor in the finale. So movement 5, every instrument is shown in here. Every instrument before kind of has its moment to shine throughout the movement along with the other instruments. By the way, the full instrumentation, probably should have said that earlier, is SATB choir, string quintet, flute, oboe, trumpet, horn, trombone, timpani, and cymbal. And if I were to do this in real life, I probably would have like 2 violins, 2 firsts, 2 seconds, 2 violas, 2 cello, 1 bass. Probably add another string to each just to fill out the sound a bit. Movement 5, for the finale, the opposition, what happens. The text is the Gloria text. The Gloria in excelsis Deo, et in terra paz omnibus bone voluntatis, except it's the entire text. So it's not just that, it's like all of it. And I kind of apply each stanza to each section that's called back to each movement. So I thought that was cool. But that's, where all the themes kind of come together, align, and you're just going to have to listen to the movement. You have to listen to all 4 of them to understand the 5th one and how cool it is. But all the movements really just align together, and it creates this glorious ending that is just, it's so good. I'd like to apologize right now that with the MIDI work I've used, MuseScore, it does not say like the actual words. So you will have to like full screen the music and like read along with the words that are being emitted. You know, you're just going to hear these sounds, these like very stagnant vocal sounds, and you're just going to have to read along with the lyrics, which I think, you know, is good. It's going to keep you engaged, force you to listen. So yeah, that is Opposition. I don't know if that was a brief commentary or not, but yeah, that was my inspiration behind composing this piece, and I really hope I get to actually perform it someday so I can post a live recording of it on my channel. But until then, we have the MIDI file. Yeah, thank you for listening to this commentary, and I hope you all have a great day. Hope you listen to the pieces. Hope you like it. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video.